Hop in. We're going to see the King Street Giants. We're having a meal together. I'm going to go pick up some food from a very special eatery in Santa Rosa. It's called Dierk's Parkside. The King Street Giants are a local band that performs New Orleans style music right here in the North Bay. We love them very, very much. They bring the party. Big news, they have an album coming out. It is their third studio album. They had one in 2015, one in 2017. This album, Everything Must Go, that's the name of it, is special in that it's all original tunes and it features plenty of singing. All right, here we are. Right on Santa Rosa Avenue. We're going to Dierk's. Very much. There you go. All right, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool, thanks a lot. All right. Here's the place. Okay.
Morning.
I'm gonna approach.
Sweet.
And drop off the bag.
Sweet.
And then
we've got HenHouse goodies for you.
All right. That sounds good to me.
Boom.
Thank you too. Thank you very much. And let me hold that.
Are those from Dan's garden?
Yeah, Dan's garden.
Okay, so Dan grew the cucumbers. Nice.
I am such a huge pickle fan.
Good.
Especially on a hot day, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like I'll just drink the juice, you know? Talk to you guys soon. All right, let's get to my house before this food gets cold and the beers get warm.
Say, of all the times that I've had a beer before noon, I don't think I've ever had a beer and hash browns at the same time.
This is
You have
somehow I've like straight up skipped like the brunch beer thing because I usually do mimosas, you know.
You know, like all the rules are out the window now.
Yeah, it's like airport rules.
Airport rules.
Nice, Jones.
Totally. Everything is airport rules. You can sleep anywhere you want.
You wear
Rules of
slippers.
personal hygiene. Yeah.
For the same
TGI
Fridays.
Yeah. I walk around with one of those neck pillows all the time.
We just need the combination of like the mask and the pillow.
Yeah, totally. Just all in one piece.
Oh yeah, a little too vain. Yeah,
Jones, that's how you're gonna make your millions.
That's it.
Jones, that's how you're gonna make your millions.
Yeah.
The mask neck pillow combo.
It's weird times like this, times of innovation. All right, so we got some food from Parkside, which is just an institution, isn't it, folks? This is just some classic.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I saw on their
Classic.
website that they've won best breakfast in Santa Rosa like 7 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
I walked through and I saw their little wall of plaques. They're the place to go. They're the place
Unreal.
for lunch. So good call.
Unreal, yeah. I haven't gone there in a couple of years because I used to live right in downtown. I used to live in the old Crux house. You know, I used to live there. And then I used to walk down to Parkside like every weekend and get the usual thing. But living out in Forestville now, it's like I'm not going to drive half an hour or 20 minutes for brunch, but
Yeah.
man, this was worth it. So thank you.
I bring them there all the time. Anytime I pass it.
I like how it's right by Juilliard. I love Juilliard Park.
Mhm.
So that's pretty
That's
cool.
that great little like Sonoma Avenue walk is awesome.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so you brought up the Crux House, Nick. So there's a house on the cover of your new album, Everything Must Go. And I look at it and I have so many memories from that house. To the right, that is I guess the Crux House or whatever.
That's it.
Where I lived for a number of years and you lived for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
First King Street Giants album was recorded there, right?
Yeah, the live one. And
Yes.
I wanted to have like a cool nickname for it, because everyone just called it the Crux House. Like, I want my own nickname. And I every time we would talk about it, I was like, I always wanted to call it the something lodge. Like I couldn't figure out what the something was going to be. And then Ab Menon, who was in the band, he said, why don't you just call it something like Lagunitas Little Something? And then I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. And so the first now out of print Giants album is Live at the Something Lodge.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I saw a copy of it the other day, buried in the last record store.
Oh.
Yeah, like in the.
Did you pull it?
No, I just hit it like more.
You heard it here, folks. Go to the last record store. You can get that bad boy.
You can get a King Street relic.
Yep.
If you can find it.
If you can find it. Yeah, Casey hit it in the pan flute section.
No, I put it behind the children's albums. Like Barney's Best Hits.
Cool. Some parent is going to surprise their kids.
There was no profanities in that album.
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
There's no profanity in our albums.
We're clean.
Shame.
So looking at the cover, it's kind of this interesting kind of mixture of different places. As soon as I saw that house, I thought, oh, cool. This is going to be King Street, which is where the house is. And then you look across the street and that's New Orleans. And you look down the path and you see some kind of castle. And you see just all of these different places. Like, it's a really cool idea. It was drawn by Gio Benedetti, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Local artist. Runs My Town is Magical, which is this really cool project where
dragons,
kids, it's lots of, and he draws tons of dragons. He's a crazy bassist at large in the area. And
he's one of those dudes that's like good at everything, and so I kind of hate him for it.
He aggravates me in that way. I should do an interview with him. That would be fun.
Oh, that would be a good one.
He's like the nicest dude ever, and so it's like no matter how like frustrated you are at how good he is, he's also really nice, so it makes it that much worse. Like you can't get mad at him.
It's like trying to just like Stephen Doyle. It doesn't work.
Oh, Stephen Doyle.
Yeah, he did all the.
Yeah, Stephen does all of our video.
So you're doing a competition right now for if people can name the places on the album. Does that run out in time that we could talk about that you could list them right now?
So I would imagine that this is going to probably post in about a week, right?
Yeah, at the least, yeah.
Okay, so the contest ends on Tuesday, so we can talk about the places.
All right. Okay, let's do it.
Our Instagram and Facebook gets spammed with all the messages.
We've got a lot of good contest submissions so far. Someone already got, 4 out of 6 of them right.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
I was having a very difficult time with it. Okay.
So you got 2 of them.
I'm going to, all right. I'm going to open my beer now.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's the noise right there.
Nice. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bing,
Cheers.
bing, bing.
Not as satisfying, but that's okay.
All right. So we'll pull up the image of of the album on screen right now. We have New Orleans, we have Santa Rosa, we have some green building. Is that the school? Or
That's the last record store.
That is the last record store.
That's the last record store before is it before the paint shop? It's brown now, right?
Yeah.
It's the same color.
Wait, is it still green?
No. Well, it's brown to Dan because Dan's colorblind. Dan. Then across the street.
Patrick's Day is my favorite holiday. It's brown beer, you know?
Yeah.
And across the street, that's a Ray's Deli.
That is Ray's Deli. Petaluma. I love that place.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
They've been big supporters of us since early on, and every once and again we'll bring the full band in there and try not to irritate the fire marshal. Because we're playing way too loud, and they can barely take orders for sandwiches, but they're like, oh, whatever. Here we are.
That's great. That's a good little segue too, because King Street Giants have played in more places in Sonoma County than I can think of any other band playing, which is amazing because you have a number of brass instruments and everything to the point where, what's the average number of people in the King Street Giants on any given gig?
The usual band is 7.
My favorite moment though was a couple of years ago. We were trying to figure out how many people have been in the band, like just even any instance in any gig. And I think we came up with like 22. I think there have been a total of like cast members, that sort of thing.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's totally. You're in the double digits.
Yeah.
I find the average number of band members at any gig is dependent on size, because you should really see how difficult it is to get a tuba into Ernie's Tin Bar.
Oh my God.
Or Twin Oaks before they took out the ceiling.
Yeah.
Trying to get a tuba into that stuff, big problem.
Yeah, there's a couple of venues where I have to sit and play instead of stand.
Yeah, it counts as a second, as another person. I think if we're tallying up this guys.
The bass drum.
So what's the smallest?
So
what's the smallest place you've ever had to fit in?
Probably Ernie's Tin Bar.
Ernie's, yeah.
I think
Ernie's in the winter. Was this like last summer? Oh, God, I don't remember.
It was last winter. It was right after harvest.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like November. Yeah. So the three of us crammed us in the corner of Ernie's, and then they, you can't walk out like one of the doors. You can only walk in through the garage or through the patio. You can't bring beer out like the side door. But I think there were 15 people in there, maybe 20. And it was, as my mother would say, asses to elbows.
Long story short, we drank them out of hams and we had a good time.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun and disgusting at the same time.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Well, what's funny about our band too is we fit like anywhere because we don't have to plug in at all. Like, some people, the challenge is, where you're going to fit the amp and the whole drum set and all that. And we've had, I think a lot of gigs were to our advantage just because we can just go anywhere. I remember the first year that we started this band, we were at Sonoma State, Nick and I, we marched through somebody's dorm. Like we were playing outside and someone opened up their door and was like, hey, and we just walked right through.
Yeah. Well, that brings up a thought of mine. I was thinking earlier this morning about questions to ask and everything. And I think because you can play without any electricity, that King Street Giants is probably the most gigging band in the area over the course of the summer. Maybe. I mean, it's up there. You play so many shows for different groups. You're, obviously not limited by space.
What we lack in a travel schedule, we make up for in, we play weddings a lot, lots of weddings, wineries, Because I think for people, what's great about this band is people will hire us because they like the ambiance, they like the traditional jazz ambiance. But like we get hired for weddings and we play our originals. They typically these people getting married don't have any special requests. They just say, oh yeah, just play New Orleans jazz. And so like we'll play originals at weddings, and it's great.
I think that's tougher for bands with with songs with vocals all the time.
Right.
It's a little bit different to do that with the instrumental kind of arrangements and stuff. You can get the vibe across so much clearer in a lot of ways.
Well, and if you have an electric guitar and you're getting hired, $5 says that every time you get requests for Freebird or like Mustang Sally, they probably wouldn't have to play those gigs anymore because they just get so many requests for those songs.
Yeah, you're not gonna. I mean, you will have some people saying like play Bourbon Street or something like that, but
yeah, it's we the classic one is everyone asks for Saints Go Marching In, and the 3 years ago the three of us were playing in Petaluma in like a Putnam Plaza. Some guy came up and said, play Saints, and we said $20, and he threw in $20. We went, oh, okay. so we did it.
Totally.
Well, I think it's like one of 3 times we've ever played it.
Yeah.
Do you get about this band too? Is that we always have fun. Like we won't name the gig, but we've only had one bad gig out of the many years we've done this band, and I think that's part of what people get when we have a show somewhere is we have that party, we generate that party. And that's what I love about this band.
I totally agree. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. All right, let's look back at the cover again. I just want to nail some more of these. Is that like the Lincoln Memorial in the back there?
That's the Haunted Mansion from Disneyland.
Disneyland?
That's the Haunted Mansion.
Oh my gosh, it totally is. That's great. What
if you can look really, really close, it's got like the old iron like decorations, but they with all the calcium deposits because they're old, so they got the green on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the Haunted Mansion. We used to do a Halloween show at the Big Easy every year. And we would all do a group costume. And one year we dressed as the cast from Archer. And totally unrelated, we decided we should play Grim Grinning Ghosts, which is like the song from the Haunted Mansion. And so we arranged it, and our trombone player, Jason, he played the lead. We didn't sing it. He played the lead on trombone. And then he used to work at Disneyland. And he did the whole narration. Like when you're standing in the elevator, and the room is stretching out, he did the whole narration like live on camera. And then Ab, our old bass drummer, is a killer organ player. And the Big Izzy has that Hammond in the back line there. And so Ab was playing all that creepy organ music while Jason narrated. And so the Haunted Mansion ended up becoming this like special building for us. That, and I'm obsessed with Disneyland. Like I was raised in a Disney household, and I'm noticing as I'm getting older, like I'm becoming my parents.
I think we're all kind of having those moments, Nick.
I mean, it's inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah. I gotta say, your band nails Halloween. Like,
did you seen the Bob's Burgers one, right?
I saw the Bob's Burgers. Do you think you could? You didn't like that one, Casey?
Because I had to be Tina. Like it was non-negotiable. We're sitting around like, what are we gonna do this year? And everyone except for me is like, Bob's Burgers, and I'm like, no, because then I have to be Tina. I know that there was no. Usually, like the other costumes, we'll pick something or vote or like figure it out. But when it was like, yeah, let's do Bob's Burgers, everyone looked at me and goes, Tina, and I'm sitting there just like,
no.
But like you are Tina. Like you just
I laughed so hard my headphones fell off. Oh my goodness.
Right when Dylan joined the band, we did the Sandlot.
Really?
Which was kind of fun. Yeah, I was the Great Ambino.
Forever.
Great
who are you?
Ambino forever.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you just have a song where you just said forever for like
Well,
we did
5
we did
minutes?
Ray Charles's
America the Beautiful.
and Dan sang it.
Yeah, you know the scene in like the 4th of July scene with the fireworks, and they play under the fireworks, and there's Ray Charles' "America the Beautiful." We arranged that, and then Dan sang the hell out of it. It was great.
Wow.
My
can
father
we
was
talk-
proud of me for the first time.
Dan. Yes, Dan. So this is a remarkable King Street Giants album in that it has a number of sung songs.
Mm-hmm. For the first time, original vocals written by the band.
Yeah, I heard that in a previous album you had like a St. Louis Women's Blues song,
Yeah,
something like
you did
that.
That was,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And you brought in all these like crazy microphones. It was cool.
That
the
was
phone.
fun.
I love that.
Yeah, that was really fun. That one, I was hanging out with a friend and I was telling them we're going to do this. And so they put it on shuffle, like your stuff on shuffle. And that one came up and I just remembered the whole thing. That was really fun.
Nice.
So yeah, thanks again for that. So a number of these, so we have a lot of sung originals, and those are some of my favorite ones on the album. What? So this is your
It's our fourth. If you count
album?
the first one, if you count the live one, which we technically we usually don't count it. There's a reason it's out of print. But so it's our third studio album.
Sure. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So and you decided to kind of make that leap into doing this was so your previous two studio albums, first one's no vocals at all.
The first one had it was 6 original tunes and 4 like traditional tunes.
Yeah.
And 3 of those 4 had vocals. So it was the St. Louis Blues, I'll Fly Away, and St. James Infirmary, which are like, those are all staples in the New Orleans jazz world.
Oh yeah, so that's the Assaulted is before Dressed Up.
2015, and there's a story behind the beer circus and Lagunitas behind the name.
Yeah, it's not just a randomly picked word. It's
on a dumb peanut joke.
Yeah.
So the story behind Assaulted.
Well, okay, I'll keep.
Your first studio album.
Yeah. So to generalize, we were playing a Lagunitas gig for promoting the beer circuit, and it was at it was in Santa Rosa on what was it?
It's what's Steel and Hops now. Whatever it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Steel and Hops now, and so we were in there playing, and they had burlesque dancers to promote the beer circus and everything. And there was also at that same time like a blues society, all these like blues elderly blues musicians, and they had no idea this was going on. Like somehow they double booked. And so here we are, like this crazy burning jazz band, these like blues types and these burlesque dancers, and this one poor lady just snaps and goes, "This is vulgar. This isn't the music I signed up for," and like just starts throwing stuff. And she picked up a salt shaker and threw it at the band, and I think she hit Ab on the drums, right?
She hit like me or Ab in the foot. Like it was harmless, but the dancer had to like duck out of the way.
Yeah, and Ricky ducked too. And so the craziest part is she just goes crazy, and this huge bouncer comes over and just picks her up and just carries her out. And so afterward, we're talking to him. We're like, "Hey, what happened to that poor lady?" And he was like, "We were going to charge her with the salt shaker."
She got arrested. She got arrested for assault. Like, you can't make this up. Like, it's a living dad joke.
Assault with a salt shaker.
It's yeah. So out of context, we're not a huge fan of the album. Not the album name. Not gonna lie, but with the context, hopefully, it's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, cheers on you for doubling down on a dad joke for the title of your album.
Oh, yeah.
It's great considering only one of us is a dad.
2.
Oh, 2. Yeah, duh.
Dylan. And
Yeah,
Morgan.
that's right.
Little baby Morgan.
Well, yeah, none of us are dads yet, except for Jones.
So Dan, you sing 4 tunes on the album, is it? Or
3 tunes, I think.
3 tunes. And then Jesse's on 2.
Jesse's on 1, and then an old friend of ours from Sonoma State, this gal Megan Graney. She's if you're talking vocal range, she's a contralto, so she's almost like a female tenor. So she's got this really low voice, kind of like, you ever listen to like Nina Simone, like her really low voice? Yeah, so she's kind of in the same range as like Nina Simone, where it's super deep. And so, but she's a killer.
That's on Get Out.
That's a tune called Get Out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but she loves singing blues and like old jazz. And so she lives in LA now. She's a Berklee College of Music grad. And then she just in LA, just trying to make it in the industry down there. And I hit her up. I was like, hey, you should come sing on our record. She's like, okay. And so we flew her up and she learned the song in like 2 days and crushed it.
Yeah. That song just kind of comes out of left field, track 7, and it just blows you away. I really, of the songs with vocals, I really love Take Away and All Right. Those are my top picks for the vocal ones.
Nice.
Dan, do you write the vocals on the songs that you sing?
There's only one song I wrote the vocals on. That was probably the mopiest one of all. It was the 15 hours was the one I wrote vocals for. And it's pretty clear that I work in the wine industry because I make a bunch of great ones. But, when you're getting pretty late into a shift during a harvest and you're starting to feel a little heartbroken, that's kind of the byproduct of that. So you get a nice, good mopey song.
I love that song. That's the last one that I listened to before this. That one. That's
really probably great. Our most like Sonoma County centric song.
But as far as All Right goes, we just recently came to a consensus that we've all experienced something similar in romantic adequacy, and I think
I would argue that that's the mopiest song.
Well, it's mopey, but it's upbeat.
Lyrically, not feel-wise.
I would like to see Eeyore sing All Right.
Oh yes. Next time we go to Disneyland, we should give him our demo.
I hear he's got connections.
Yeah,
I hear he's got connections.
You can give it to Walt's frozen head.
Oh, all right. So you got 2 teachers in the group?
2. Jones and I. Yeah.
What schools are you teaching at?
I'm at Annalee High School, and I was at Brookhaven School this previous year in basketball.
And then I'm at Hillcrest Middle School and Gravenstein Elementary, same district in Sebastopol. And it's great because when my kids are at the elementary school and then they go to Hillcrest, I'm still their music teacher. So I have these kids for up to 9 years if they've been in the school since kindergarten. And then when they graduate, if they go to Annalee, then Jones gets to be their teacher. So all those King Street albums that they've bought over the last years, Jones gets to talk to him now too. Like, oh, hey, there's another King Street album.
We're indoctrinating the children with trad jazz.
Right. There's going to be roving teenagers playing trad jazz around Sebastopol.
Getting into trouble.
The only problem is I can't tell half the stories because Nick's already told them to them.
Yeah.
So I'll say like, oh, this one time in the gig, and they'll be like, oh, this time? And I'm like, yeah. There goes my lesson plan.
They're well studied.
Unfortunately, the other half is not appropriate for children. The other half of the stories.
Yeah, we there's definitely a handful of stories that we don't tell in the classroom because it's touring band stuff.
They usually involve Lagunitas.
Yeah.
The salt shaker.
The salt shaker. The skunk train.
We need one of you to teach college next.
Dan.
I'll do it.
Professor Dan.
Come on, kids. Let's learn about grapes and trad jazz.
I'd take that class.
So then summer is usually like crazy gig time for you all because you're not teaching and stuff. Is this tough? Is how rough is this to not be able to play the majority at least of the gigs?
It's boring. Like we've all taken on new projects. Like, I'm doing my first ever garden, which is turning out great. Like I made zoodles for the first time ever last night.
Zoodles?
Zucchini noodles. Zoodles.
Oh, okay. I was like,
everyone loves a zoodle.
Yeah. So I grew. Yeah. And so I've got the garden. We've got hops growing. Jones and I pretty much have a new album written.
Oh.
And so,
I needed to do a vocal tune or something.
Yeah, I think we have 12 songs written and 8 of them are probably good. But God, it's boring.
I've been pickling a lot. So like, this is one of like probably 24 jars.
Cool.
So,
I've been thinking about getting into the pickling game. I'm in the sourdough game.
Yeah.
I remember that stage of COVID.
I think everyone's gone through that one. Yeah.
The 5 stages of COVID: grief, denial, sourdough, pickling, forgiveness.
Well, I can't wait to break into these after this. I'm going to finish my huevos rancheros from Parkside first, and then I'll get into pickle territory.
That means ranch eggs.
So you all have these jobs, like really important key jobs in the community, except for Dan.
Come on!
So I'm just saying, like a lot of artists and bands, I think, are a little bit shy about whatever other job they have, and I really like how you all continue. You have your jobs in the community. You put them forward. You make it a big part of who you are, and you're gigging nonstop. You're playing some big festivals. You're playing some big festivals. You're playing big local gigs and stuff like that. I mean, you played Strawberry, Petaluma Music Festival. I mean, a bunch of these gigs and stuff, while at the same time, maintaining, this part of your lives, which is the job. And I think that's such a cool thing for local artists to see, because I think that the way the industry is right now is that you need to have multiple parts to what you're doing. It's just not on the table unless you're super duper duper lucky to just be a gigging musician. So
right.
That's a huge inspiration for people like me, for sure.
I never thought about it that way. I do it for my students. I don't know. I've had a teacher before, way back in high school, where it was like, well, in the real world, blah, 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 blah. Well, in the real world, blah, 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 blah. And me as a teacher, it's really nice to have a gig to say like, oh, like, here's what I did like last week, this weekend, and then like apply it to like my classroom setting. Because I've always wanted to be a teacher. And I honestly never thought I'd gig on clarinet as much as I do through this band. And that's the number one compliment I always get from people is, I didn't know you could play clarinet like that. I wish I didn't quit clarinet.
Yeah, I've been amazed at how many people, their first instrument was clarinet in school.
Mine was. I don't wish I still played
It's clarinet. The best. Well, we can have clarinet playing.
Well, and in terms of like, it almost gives us street cred where whenever, we're giving some big long-winded lecture in class and the kids are like, yeah, we get it. But then we literally will go do what we talked about that night at a gig. And if it's an all ages show and they show up, so there have been gigs where we played and it's been all ages and we've played a thing and like during a solo or like during a tune, I'll specifically think in lecture today, I talked about this thing and I would do it. And then after the show, I'd find the kid and be like, hey, remember what we talked about in class? I did that. They're like, oh my God, you did. And so it almost is like, you're giving you're legitimizing everything you say in class because you're also living and breathing it. It's not just empty words.
That's totally for real. My favorite teachers were always folks who had stuff besides teaching to give context to it. And it totally does street cred. And the kids notice that.
Mhm. Well, and as music teachers, it's pretty easy to be passionate about. Like there are teachers that get into it because you get summers off, but then there are teachers that get into it because they enjoy it, and that passion is what makes them a good teacher. So I would like to think that when people come see the Giants and they see their teachers playing with intensity and technical ability, then it's like, oh, that's good. It makes it more real.
Definitely. Less abstract and that sort of thing, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. When we have, Jesse plays, he plays saxophone. He's a salesman for Karenko in Santa Rosa, who sell these like gigantic, steel food processors. Like Beyond Meat buys them, cannabis companies buy them, juice companies buy them. So like, how do we process tons of material and make it ground up? And so he's a salesperson for that. So like, there have been times where it's like, hey, we have a gig offer in wherever, can we make it? He's like, oh, I'm going to be in Chicago for a trade show, like selling industrial sized grinders. And then Jason is a nurse at Sutter. He's a post-op pre-op nurse at the new Sutter Hospital. And so it's like between the five of us, because Libby's drumming full time and now leading a lot of the Santa Rosa activism, which is awesome. Like it's such a heavy burden that they've taken on. So I'm really proud of them. And then Dylan, who joined the band recently, he lives down in Pacifica with his wife and daughter, but he's a full-time musician. And so he's just like down to play. But yeah, we can't really tour because of that. But I was thinking about this earlier. The internet does ease some of the I don't know what we're losing by not being like a road warrior band. Because I look at these touring bands, like I look at Sam Chase. Like Sam Chase works his butt off. He's always on the road. I think and he's getting a good following up and down the coast because of that. We don't have that following, but the internet at least softens that blow a little bit.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I mean, and then if you do decide to go somewhere, they might have already heard of you or something like that. Yeah. Do you get messages or do you look at the metrics or something and see stuff from like really far away?
One album, I forget which album it was. We sold the furthest CD we've ever shipped was Lithuania.
Wow.
Someone bought a CD from Lithuania, which makes sense because like Eastern Europe, some of those like Baltic and Balkan states, there's a huge trad jazz scene.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I did not know that.
Like Hungary, right, Jones?
Yeah, I think so. There was a musician I played with. She was in Oakland for a while, Laura Lackey, and that was like her main track where she would go to Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, Laura. That's great. Well, I guess, you think of all the horns in Balkan music, that makes total sense that they pick up trad jazz as well.
And what's fun about that sort of stuff too is you can kind of hear a little bit of that influence, because I grew up listening to a little bit of klezmer, and I know Jesse through Church Marching Band has a lot of that Balkan influence. So you can hear it sneak in, especially on the dirge on our album. You can really hear it kind of seep in there, and that's what I love is like our music is also this melting pot of too.
Yeah, you're definitely not just a trad jazz band. I mean, you pick up a bunch of different influences along the way. Right? There's some go ahead.
I've been doing a lot of interviews for newer publications, like publications that have never talked to us before, which has been cool. And so, we talk a lot about, the history of the band, and we get a lot of the easier questions, which, I like answering, but I've been thinking about it. And there are bands that when they play, they want to dedicate their whole life to sound like an album from years gone by, whether it's, like a cover band who's dedicated, we have to sound like, Black Sabbath or whoever. Like we have, like that's their whole life is to study. You can even go back to, there are orchestras that play on, what are called period instruments, so they can play, Baroque music with these authentic instruments, with the intonation tendencies and all these things, so they get this authentic sound. But it's just a fancy cover band at that point. And so,
Sure.
So for us, I think it's unfair to isolate ourselves. Like, we love Preservation Hall Jazz Band. We love Dirty Dozen Brass Band. We love Tuba Skinny. We love those early Satchmo records. Like, it would be unfair to just play that stuff.
Well, and what's funny too is like I remember trying to break into new venues and new gigs. They'd be like, "Can you like describe what you sound like?" And we're like New Orleans, but we're more like West Coast, but this thing. And they're like, jazz, so like elevator music, or like, and we're like, no, like with like parties and stuff. And then they're like, yeah, I don't get it. and then we play, and we like go play the venue, and they're like, oh my god, that's what you're talking about.
To this
that's
day,
jazz.
Yeah. to this day, every new venue we play, it takes us forever to get in. So like, okay, so Sacramento, there's a club out there called Shady Lady. It's as close to like a Frenchman Street bar as I've ever been to outside of the quarter. And it took us over a year to get in there. And then finally they were like, all right, you can play a Wednesday, 9 to midnight. And so as I'm rolling up to Forceful at 2 a.m, I was like, all right, zero period is going to be brutal, but whatever. It's fine. It was worth it. But yeah, as soon as we play a new venue after hemming and hawing and finally getting a gig there, they're like, oh my God, you should play here all the time. We're like, yeah, we know. We were trying to tell you.
That is hilarious. It takes, there's a lot of just education that it takes to.
Well, and yeah, because I think trad jazz is it's a 2 4-letter word.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of these people, they think trad jazz, and they think dusty old white guys, and it's like, no, it's more than that. Like, I promise.
Or they do think of Disneyland. We do get like Disneyland stuff a lot. There's parts of Disneyland where you hear that sort of like sappy, sugary music, and so it's fun to do all that stuff. And then just like being the flexible musicians that we've played different requests. Like there was a time earlier we did a Backstreet Boys cover at a wedding. Someone was like, "Can you do a Backstreet Boys song?" And we like looked at each other and we're like, "Okay."
And now it's a part of our set. Now like it's just,
oh yeah,
it's just stuck. Yeah.
Backstreet's back. I've heard you do that. You nail it.
But yeah, I think it's unfair to ignore 100 years of musical history just so we can like pigeonhole, like, we are a trad jazz band. Like that, we've played with people that like, oh, do you know any Bix Beiderbecke tunes? And I was like, oh, like, I guess.
Do that. I enjoy that.
Well, I'm not saying I don't enjoy it, but it's like it's pigeonholing,
It's great to be in a band that does all sorts of stuff, and it's fun to see the look on people's faces when we do play all different sorts of things,
Like Iron Maiden.
I feel like, which Iron Maiden song do you do?
Dan sings The Trooper.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I don't think I've seen that. That's great.
Oh. I'll send you a clip.
Cool. I'd love that. I'd love that.
We played it in New Orleans, and it threw people through a loop. It was great.
What was it like visiting New Orleans?
I think I'm gonna go PG-13 for a second. I think the term is we were pigs in shit. We were so happy.
Yeah. I was so happy when I heard that you all were getting the group out there. That couldn't have been easy with how big the band is and everything like that.
I mean, we saved up a lot of money and we bought plane tickets, and we found an Airbnb in the Marigny. Like, I think we were 3 blocks east of Frenchman. So like, literally we would just like get our horns and like walk across Elysian Fields, and then like, boom, Frenchman was right there. And just, and then, my wife, Kristen, she lived in New Orleans for, her teenage years and most of her 20s. And so it was like having a really awesome tour guide.
Wow.
And it felt like a paid vacation too, because here we are gigging in the late afternoon, dinner time, and then we just go and be tourists for a little bit.
Yeah, we'd go to Preservation Hall. We'd go hang out on Frenchman. We'd go, we got to see, some of our favorite bands on Royal Street. Like, was unreal. Like
Such a great city.
if I could trust myself not to eat fried shrimp every day, because I probably wouldn't make it past 50, I would probably move down there.
That's amazing, Nick. That's great. That's great. Oh yeah. So I really think that exactly as you said, you know, your ability to take in these songs and everything from trad jazz and then, you know, mix it with this new stuff is just something that really sets you apart. But this album in particular has so much original material. How good does that feel?
Great. I mean, so this album and our last album, the last album, Just Ready to Go, was that was a challenge when we were driving to some gig. Someone casually said, the next album should be all originals. And we went, okay, deal. And so that album had 12 songs. I think so. 12 songs. Yeah. But those are all instrumentals. Because I know myself and I think Casey, you're in the same boat. We never written lyrics before.
Still haven't written lyrics.
Yeah. So you and I write. I guess that's true. Yeah. Because you and I write the bulk of the music either together or isolated. And so we wrote all these trad jazz tunes for the last album. It was great. And then I think the next album, you know, when we're talking about concept, it was like, well, what does the band need? Like, what do we need in our set? And one of the things we always hear after a set is, we love when you guys sing. We love like when Jesse sings or Libby sings or Dan sings. Like we love when you folks sing. So it's like, yeah. We don't love it when Jones sings.
Ooh, yeah. I've heard that.
So I was like, all right. So I and after so many years of listening to, you know, instrumental jazz and death metal, where lyrics are not really the focus, I've never written lyrics before. I never cared about lyrics before. Like, but I know that's a big connector piece why people enjoy music is these stories or poems or whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
Well, from the behind the scenes sort of thing too. After a number of years of like writing originals and like working over these tunes that we have, you get to know the musician and you get to know the people you're writing the music for. And it really, you start to like, you know, the shoes start to fit, you know, you break it in and you can realize like what to write for and how to write for the people in the band, you know, like our first track, Takeaway, I like Jesse singing that it fits really well. Or Dan singing anything. It just like fits really well because you kind of can feel it, you know, because we know each other. You know, I think the earlier albums, especially without the originals, are, you know, things that we're used to or things that we know, but they don't like, it's not like a you know, something that's like broken in because we wrote it for ourselves, you know?
Sure. Yeah. The vocals really make it personal. Dan, you sing like a soul song on it.
Right.
Yeah, Dad.
So that song is interesting because it's, you know, it was a passion project.
Just stick around, right?
Just stick around is the tune. It was I feel like a passion project for Nick, and he kind of bestowed it upon me and asked me to sing this thing, which, you know, it came with a certain amount of weight, but I was also, you know, honored to sing something that I know means so much to an individual. Hope I did it, Jeff. That's what
absolutely.
Every day I go to sleep hoping I did the right thing and was able to.
Can I give a little bit of backstory on that?
Go.
Sure. Yeah. So on the track, Just Stick Around. Okay.
Just Stick Around. Yeah. So I guess to kind of double down a little bit earlier, I wrote 3.5 of the vocal tunes. Jones helped out with the blues tune, Get Out. We bounced some ideas back and forth. That song's about the president. Woohoo. So the song Just Stick Around, I came up with this idea. So a couple of years ago, I had a student choose to commit suicide, and it devastated our community as a school. It totally just ruined us. And then a couple months later, one of my coworkers from the same school, one of this student's teachers, he lost his battle to cancer, but he chose to go on to hospice. He decided, I'm done with chemo. I'm making this decision to leave this world. And so I came with the idea. I was listening to a lot of like Sam Cooke and like Marvin Gaye, but we did a gig with Marty O'Reilly. We were his backing band at a show at the Chapel in San Francisco, and he hit me up. He's like, I want to do this song. Who is it? Jones, help me out. You always remember it better than I do.
Cigarettes and Coffee. Yeah, Cigarettes and Coffee is the title.
Cigarettes and Coffee. Oh God, who's that by? Otis Redding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Marty O'Reilly was like, I want this, like, I always wanted to play like a 6/8 soul ballad with horns. And he's like, we should do Cigarettes and Coffee. And so we played it, and I was like, I want one of these. Like, I want to write one of these. And so I thought Just Stick Around is this like plea to both, you know, my coworker and my student, that they could have made the choice to stick around a little bit longer. And so, I mean, so on the surface, it's a really beautiful soul love tune of, you know, heartbreak and sorrow and all the usual stuff. But there's a lot, yeah, like Dan said, there's a lot of weight, and we learned that song is right on Dan's vocal break where he goes into his falsetto. So it's like, do I sing it falsetto? Do I sing it chest? It's right on the edge. So sorry, Dan.
I love songs like that, though, where the singer's stretching. It really adds a new level, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah. That, in terms of like new tunes, that was a different one, but I think we're all really proud of it.
Yeah, I feel like it took a long time to get where it needed to be, especially with having the emotional weight of it. There was a lot of, not pressure, but like nervousness around it to kind of do it. And it took a while to get there. We had to do many, many takes of, you know, trying to decide where I would do the vocal break. Ended up just trying to go full voice for the whole thing. Because like you said, you know, there is a bit of pain and a bit of stretching to it, which kind of fits for the subject matter anyway. So, you know, I try to give it my best. That definitely pushed me to be a little bit better as a vocalist, but I think it was necessary for something that had that much emotional weight.
Well,
you did a good, Dan.
I nailed it. It's great. No, I'm gonna listen to the album again right after this. Actually, I love all the context.
Good. Every song has a story. I know that. Yeah. You know, Jones. The songs that Jones wrote has a story. Every song has a story.
It's true. I think that's probably the best way to write things. I don't want to out anybody, but some people write for the purpose of entertainment. I think a lot of our art form is for the purpose of entertainment, but also for the purpose of telling a story from our lives, getting it off our chest, and kind of putting it out there, see how other people can relate as well. And it doesn't always have to be a trouble thing. It can be, you know, there's happier tunes, there's sad tunes, but they all kind of speak to you in a different experience, and you share that experience. Unless, you know, it's the sad ones, you don't want them to share. A lot of people do. So, you know, we're here for you. We've gone through it too.
I feel like leading up to this album, each of us kind of went through a little bit of a butt kicking personally throughout the making of this album. And so I think there's a little bit more stuff to work out on this album. Whereas like the last album was just party music, which I'm not complaining about. Like, I love a good album of party music, and there's a time and a place for that. But I feel like this album has a little bit more weight to it than our last albums in terms of emotional burden.
Totally. It's a whole new level. It's really great. I mean, the previous ones are amazing too, but this one has a whole new weight. It makes me so much more interested in the stories. Yeah, each one sounds like it comes from somewhere. How'd you get the title Everything Must Go?
Nick came up with it.
Democratic process.
I think the term that the band has come up with for me is I'm the benevolent dictator.
I think you came up with it.
I came up with dictatorship.
Nick. It sounds like I'm driving a potato. The dictatorship.
Dictatorship. That should be the next album. Tatership.
Yeah, there you go.
Dude,
ready to rip tatership.
So typically our album names in the past have been like dumb stuff that I say on tour, like the Assaulted thing. You know, again, you couldn't make that up. Dressed and Ready to Go was a thing that I would say. You know, we were doing one of our longer tours.
So
and
the quick sidebar in that, the funny part is, like teachers, we have a teacher schedule, and like I can't hit the undo button on that. And so on tour, we would wake up at like 7 a.m. or 6:30 or whatever, like ready for the school day. But it was like, you know, a tour. It was like spring break or something. And so a lot of us still be asleep because they like, you know, you play in the evening. And so we would be up like ready. And so we'd be like, hey guys, are you dressed and ready to go? And we'd be all chipper with coffee. And they'd be like, we don't play for like 8 hours. What are you doing?
There was one morning where Jesse almost punched me because Jones and I were singing. Jones, Daniel, and I were singing camp songs at 7 a.m. And poor Jesse, I think that was the night that he decided, I'm not bunking with you guys anymore. This is awful.
Yeah, we got the early birds here today. I think we would have Jesse, but I think he's still sleeping.
Actually, I'm gonna go have a socially distanced barbecue. He lives on the big property out, you know.
Yeah.
West Santa Rosa.
Great place. Yeah, totally. Great place. Yeah.
So this album name, you know, we haven't been gigging or touring. And so it's like, well, I don't have any dumb things that have become like tour memes, if you will, that we can kind of, you know, name it after. And so the whole idea of Everything Must Go. And on the album cover, there's the Something Lodge getting a bunch of stuff thrown out the window. And the idea is Everything Must Go. It's like pushing the reset button. It's like spring cleaning, where it's like, just get rid of all your bad habits, your anxieties, all your clutter. And it's encouraging people to start fresh and push the reset button, if you will.
Wow.
And so, and going back to, you know, any burdens we might have had from, you know, our lives leading up to this album and writing these songs that kind of express that. Like, I mean, like the song, you know, okay, Jones, you wrote a dirge, and then, you know, your dad passed. So I mean, that's
yeah, and that's I mean, that's the title of that tuner is his initials.
RMJ Dirge.
Yeah, and you know, it's just these like Dan said, these tunes are like for us as well. Just for the stories. And, you know, I think that's what really speaks to the album title, is taking all those things that we felt and just trying to move forward. And I like with all of this, it feels like that's what we're all trying to do, you know?
Yeah. And we came up with the album before COVID hit, but I feel like as COVID has hit and we've learned a lot about our society and about just our country in general, I feel just like I feel that the album is more apropos because I feel like people have a lot of time to self-reflect and learn who they are as a person, and so it's like use this opportunity to do something better and get rid of all the bad stuff. So Everything Must Go. Hard reset. So that was coincidental.
Yeah, but you know, thank goodness that it's coming out right now. I'm really excited, and I totally get that from every track. I can't wait for people out there to listen to it.
We're very thankful that we got done recording our parts before COVID. Because we recorded it with Nate Nasada, Prairie Sun. The first two weekends in February, and we were like just starting mixing. Like I remember, so K10 and I, we had a trip to Portland planned. And then like, I remember canceling our trip like a week before St. Patrick's Day as we're starting to see everything shut down. And like, that was our last mixing session for a couple months because it was like we're all isolated and sheltering in place. So, but we're thankful. And I hope that this album can provide something new and enjoyable and fresh to a public that might not be getting anything new creatively, you know, released because everyone's so isolated.
I totally agree. Recordings that are coming out right now have such an importance to me. Kayada's album came out, and listening to that has been a really moving experience. And same thing with yours. It feels like something in me is really searching for music to help me find some ground during this time. And this album is definitely part of that.
Good. That's the hope. You know, I mean, I know that it's all I've been able to think about for the last 4 months. I swear, Jones, how many times do I text you? Twice a day?
I used to get daily album updates. It was if I got a text from Nick, it was one of three things. It was the album. It was the album or his garden.
The garden.
And the hops look great, by the way.
I can see him in the back there.
Yeah, it is. There's a hop vine, right? It's on the fence. You can barely see it. Right.
Ooh, now I see it.
There. There's a hop vine.
I like hops.
For me and my perspective, I moved into Dan's house the day like the shelter in place orders hit. And so as soon as I was like getting my bike out of my driveway in my previous place in Pengrove, and like I parked here, it was like shelter in place, don't go anywhere. And I was like, oh, well, I'm glad I just moved. But it's been, you know, a really interesting experience because you learn a lot about your network and your support network. And it's been, I mean, it's really hard to see all these things be canceled, all the tours, all the shows, all of the art, but then out of it in a silver lining sort of way, see this network of musicians. I mean, I think I've had an opportunity to listen to Sam Chase way more, or so many other groups. I mean, Libby's new album, everything. And you know, it's tough because I want to see a live show, but then you get this kind of hidden network of art that you can remotely support, and it's nice to know that it's still there. You know, like it's not crushed.
Yeah. I've been going on Bandcamp a lot and just purchasing albums, trying to do it every couple of weeks and stuff. They're still doing that Friday where the money goes straight to the artist. And
August 7th.
August 7th. Yeah. So I emailed Bandcamp. I'm like, hey, are you going to do another First Friday? And they said, oh, we don't have another one planned. And I was like, oh, okay. So we announced the release date as the 3rd, August 3rd. And then like a week later, they were like, oh, hey, we're doing First Friday. And I was like, cool. So if anyone wants to wait till Friday, the 7th, and buy it on Bandcamp, you can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music as much as you want, but then buy a CD on the 7th.
Totally. Yeah, help pay for that studio time.
One too that I've tried to do that's a little difficult is all the money I'd spend, you know, getting coffee on the run or like a sandwich here or there. I've been trying to find out how to divert it to someplace, you know. So like I'll go to the Santa Rosa Farmers Market, which is just finishing right now, over at the LBC and get some, you know, local produce, or spend money on Bandcamp and local albums. Or it was a little dangerous when I figured out the last record store did deliveries, because then it was like for a couple of weeks it'd be like, okay, I'll get this album or I get this album, and then you start to divert it that way, you know. And it's
the last record store is doing deliveries? I didn't know that.
I don't know if they still do. It's through Discogs.
Okay, cool. I'll look that up and see if that's still going on. That's definitely one of my favorite places in Santa Rosa for sure.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a huge supporter of like keeping it local, and it's so important to like support all those businesses, because they're like Ray's Deli for me is like just the one place I always love going to whenever I can, you know. And it's important just to keep those folks supported, because they support us, and it's that local network that you gotta love, that
totally
keeps us, you know, organic.
Well, and I think a big part of that also is I don't know everybody's opinion on this subject, but for me personally, during this whole, you know, virus outbreak, it seems like the national response seems to be a little bit less than I expected. So I tend to lean a little bit harder on my local community to see what we're doing in response. And if it, you know, we're all working together, because I would really like to look up to like the state level, the national level, but it's continually kind of disappointed me. And now I can look within, I think the local response I'm proud of that. Looking to my friends, the music community, personally the agriculture community, and seeing support in many different ways. Everybody's sharing information on how to deal with this. We're all doing this for the first time, and there is no right answer. There's no wrong answer, but we're all kind of coming together, especially with musicians, putting out albums, trying to get people through what I can only imagine staying home through all this. It was extreme boredom, and putting out new musical products kind of helps people get through this boring time, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Well, and what's been interesting, personal perspective too, is I haven't been to work since March, like in the regular fashion. And Dan is as an ag worker in person, so he's been working regular ag hours, which is more. They talk about us teachers like staying until too long. The ag community does the same thing, and it's crazy to see this like dichotomy of here I am like typing up lesson plans, doing Zoom things, and then Dan's doing grapes 10 hours a day. All that sort of
Great stuff.
Great stuff. But it's a little tip of the iceberg of I think a lot of what the community is going through, because you walk down 4th Street. I did the other day just curious because it was open for open table seating and it's tough, and seeing everyone struggle, you got to support them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, totally. I think that's a really good message to get out right now, and I think that's a good time to wrap it up. This has been a really great conversation, folks. Thanks. Do you have anything else you'd want to add or anything like that?
New album. Everything must go. 11 original new tunes. August 3rd on Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, the whole thing. If you want to wait to buy it until the 7th on Bandcamp, that'd be great. Please be kind to your neighbor. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. Be considerate. Be polite.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you,
everyone. Thanks for your time.
Oh, it's so great to see you all again, and thank you for the pickles again, Casey. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Big
Pickles.
thanks to King Street Giants. Big thanks to HenHouse, Dierk's Parkside, for making this really nice hang possible. Thanks a lot, folks.
Yeah. Thanks,
Great,
Josh.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.